Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Tonight I have a double page layout that has a country masculine vibe, and it is part 3 of an 8-part series where we're using up strips and scraps and doing stash busting. So I shared several weeks ago that I created this huge card project making these cute buckle cards out of the Weekend Adventure DSP and the Scenic Adventure Stampin' dies. And I was left over with all of these scraps and strips. So I've made it a mission to create 8 layouts with just those scraps and strips and added icons and things from my stash. So the first week I created a layout with Avery Jean, a hiking layout with a mountain scene and a hidden pocket journal. Then last week I created a layout with my grandson Waylon James being Dr. Baxter. We pulled a Band-Aid Stampin' die out of my stash. We used up those strips again and made a nice vertical element. Tonight we're moving on to another granddaughter, Hattie Elaine. Hattie Elaine is our country girl, and we're going to do this layout with Hattie Elaine at 4-H where she is being judged with her sheep Bonnie. So I've already created my journaling on a 3x4 card, and I did that with a Word document, and I created a text box that was 3x4, typed in it and printed in it, and I see us using flip flaps. So I have two 4x6 verticals, and then 5 3x4 verticals, and then a 3x4 journal spot. So I'm actually cutting all of these strips down to 1x5, and we're going to make nice quadrants. We're going to make a strip of 5 1x5s, and then we're going to have them horizontal, then vertical up at the top and horizontal on the bottom so that the pattern mirrors itself. So I have a 10x10 willow white with 5 strips in each quadrant. So I have 20 1x5 strips, and we're just going to layer those and make quadrants. And then we'll duplicate this this process on the left side. So looking at the strips, I'm wondering if there's anything that I can do to jazz up the strips. This won't be a tough one tonight. This is going to be an easy layout with simple embellishing. So we're going to jazz it up a little bit by inking the edges of most of the strips or all of the strips, and then maybe doing a little doodling with a journaling pen on one of the strips just to add a little bit of interest. Now, I won't make you watch me ink all of the edges, but we're going to ink all of the edges, and then on the blue splatter strip, we'll take a journal pen and we'll just go scribbly around the outer edge. Now, if you're a straight line person, of course, you can use a straight edge or a ruler and make your lines really, really straight. But I wanted mine to just look authentic and scribbly and have those be a little bit around the edges. So now I'm going to come through with each of these strips, and I'm going to make 5 that go horizontal. And then right below that, I'm going to create 5 that are vertical, then over to the right, 5 that are vertical, and then on the lower right, 5 that are horizontal. Now I do a little adjusting when I get to the final answer because I notice certain strips are not going the right direction. So I pull those up and I adjust those a little bit, and I just make sure to only use the green trees on the horizontal strips because those definitely need to be horizontal. The hiking icons can actually go in a couple different directions, but I did want to make sure that whatever direction I chose, they were going in that same direction all the way through the page. So I do adjust those just a little bit. So if they're not adjusted yet, then you can know that I'm going to adjust them in just a little bit. So one of the reasons that I do my strips on a willow white piece is because nothing is ever completely perfect. No matter how hard you try, you're not always going to get your strips exact. So I love to put them on a willow white, or you can pick an ugly piece of cardstock that you don't like, or a piece of cardstock that got messed up on the back, because it's not going to show. But as you can see, as I'm putting my strips on, there's some evening out to do on the edges. Often you may only need to take 1/8 of an inch or less off of an edge to even an edge out, but it never fails if you go directly on the page. Then you'll have a strip that's a little bit off, and then you'll have to rip all of your strips up to even that out, or you'll have to just live with uneven strips. So by doing it on an extra piece of cardstock, I can literally put the whole thing on my cutter and even it out just a titch, and that little titch won't matter. What I do make sure to do when I've already have pattern paper on cardstock is I typically put my blade and position it in the middle. And then I poke the blade down, and then I move the blade up and down. Sometimes if you have a thicker piece because you've already assembled some pieces on top of another piece, and you take a run at it with the blade at the edge, you end up crumpling the edge a little bit. So by putting it in the middle and poking it down, you have less chances of crumpling your edges. So now I have a 10 1/4 by 10 1/4 Cajun Craze cardstock, two-tone cardstock, and I've inked the edges with pecan pie of that as well. And then now I'm looking at my strips and I'm doing a little bit of fixing and a little bit of straightening because I wasn't paying attention, and I'm getting those all going in the right direction. Now you could have gutted that Cajun Craze out, and I didn't gut it on this particular one, but you could have gutted it and made it a frame and reserved some of that cardstock in the middle for another project, which if you watch my channel at all, I do the gutting all the time to conserve paper. So now I've just duplicated that. They're random patterns. I didn't use the same patterns on the left that I did on the right in terms of the sequence. I do decide to mount my photos on black. So I have 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 black cardstock on the left, and then 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 black cardstock on the right. I have 1/8 inch all the way around. So I have 4 1/8 by 6 1/8 willow white underneath the photos on the left, and then I have 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 willow white under the photos on the right. Now I've chosen to use the solid core basic black. I do love the fact that we have two-tone in black in the white core because it gives you a gray on the back. However, I love the richness of the solid black and the basic black. So when I'm using black as a background and I really want it to be true black and a black that pops, I definitely will use that as the outer side. When it doesn't matter as much for photo mats or little backgrounds, I'll use the two-tone, or if I need a gray back, I'll use the two-tone. So I'm arranging my photos into the flip flap. So what you want to do is you want to add your extra photos into the flip flap, line the flip flap up with the inner photo that you're going over the top of, and then fold your flap over to the back. It makes it so easy to line them up, and then you can actually put flip flaps on an angle even. So a lot of people like to straighten out photos. Even when they're doing my layouts, they like their photos to be straight. I like my photos a lot of times to be offset or off to the side or on an angle, and you can very easily still cut your slits in your page protectors and have these on an angle with no problem. So now I'm digging through my stash and I have documenting the day. I have the wildflower birthday celebrations. I think maybe I could use the banner out of this. Actually, it's just called Birthday Celebrations from the Wildflower collection. I think I could make some banners out of this. I kind of like this little angled piece that we could make some banners out of. And then I have Tractor & Co. Now, documenting the day was part of Celebration, and I actually have some really good news to announce that if there are any leftover 4 items from Celebration this last round, it's going to go on Last Chance on August 5th, which is just 4 days away. Something that the company has never done before. So if this happens to have any left, the documenting the day, it's a great one that you'll be able to grab on Last Chance starting on August 5th, along with any other Celebration items that are left over. You'll know more at a later date why they're doing that and why they typically don't do that. So I've looked at my pieces here and I've decided to make a couple banners out of Misty Moonlight, the larger banners from the birthday celebration, some smaller and medium banners out of that, and then a Cajun Craze cross angled piece that holds the banners. And then I couldn't decide if I wanted the hay bales from Tractor & Co. to be Daffodil Delight or Crushed Curry. So I decided to do them in Crushed Curry True and then Second Generation. So I'm stamping off for one of those, and I'm actually cutting out 6 of those hay bales with the die, and then I'm going to ink everything. I've decided to make the tractor from Tractor & Co. Cajun Craze. So I'm doing a light Cajun Craze for the hubs, and then I'm doing the true side of Cajun Craze for the tractor. And if you've watched any of my other layouts using Tractor & Co., and I'll link those in the description, you know that I like to build the tractor on white. So taking some scrap white, build your tractor on the scrap white, and then I like to cut all the way around the tractor because it gives me a great movable piece then. And I can move that tractor around anywhere that I want. It also makes it really easy to pop the tractor up and add things to the back, just having that all one piece and cut out as all one piece. And it honestly goes faster, in my opinion, than piecing together the pieces right onto your layout. So I've created the tractor wheels out of the black. I've created the hubs out of the silver foil paper, and let's see. Yeah, all the other pieces are just the black and the Cajun Craze. So I'm putting the tractor together just like I've done many times before on video. And like I said, I will link in the description any of my videos using the Tractor & Co. Stampin' die set. It's, of course, one of those that I said was made just for me. And I think it's probably made for Hattie Elaine as well. All right, so I'm just using some of my precision or fine tip glue to get some of these finer pieces. I love using either a tweezer or my take your pick tool to hold pieces when I'm putting precision glue on. And it really helps me to get just the right amount of glue on those delicate pieces without having to use my rubber race and getting adhesive all over the place. So I see myself using the tractor as a focal element on the left. So Hattie and Bonnie are running around the 4-H fair, and she is showing her sheep. She loves her sheep. She's our country girl. She's so great with animals, and she loves them so much, and it shows. She does love maps and geography and that kind of thing, and so 4-H has been such an amazing club for her to be in. She's also shown her bunnies, and I think she either is going to or she has shown the goat. Don't quote me on that one, but she loves them. I think her sheep this year's name is Jumpin' Jill. And so this is actually from 2024. So I'm doing 8 layouts in this series using up all those scraps that you saw at the beginning of the video, and I have 8 grandkids. So I'm actually doing one layout for each of the 8 grandkids. So I've covered Avery Jean so far, Waylon James, and now Hattie Elaine. And so I'm excited to move through all of the 8 grandkids and say that I've created one 2-page layout for every grandchild using up strips and scraps and stash busting. I have probably created more pages with this Weekend Adventure line than pretty much any line in the past, unless it's been an online event or a bash that I usually have a couple times a year. Because I created a 10-page Sparkle and Shine workshop, or excuse me, an 18-page Sparkle and Shine workshop out of this series. I created a 10-page Simply Scrappin' out of this series. I created the 6-page company workshop. I created an additional 5 or 6 pages just for inspiration. And now I will be creating 16 more pages out of my leftover scrap. So I haven't been doing the math. You can add that up. I don't know how many pages that is for Weekend Adventures, but it has been a favorite of many, many of my paper crafters, and they were begging for masculine scrapbook layouts. And so I am giving them the most bang I can for their buck when they purchase the Weekend Adventure collections. And so I said I would make them and make them and make them. Basically, I've been making them till the cows come home. Love the pun. Okay, so I'm going to add the banner to the upper left. These pages are going to stay pretty simple. I've been keeping these pages simple so far in the 3 2-page layouts that I've done. I haven't added any Cricut cuts, and Cricut cuts are typically a signature of mine for my Sparkle and Shine workshops, and I haven't added any so far. So I've been trying to just use stamps and dies from my stash, use up leftovers, and keep the layouts very easy to case. I've been using go-to layouts that I think can apply to any papers, that are basic strip layouts that anyone can copy and case and make their own with whatever paper collection they would like to make. So really the heavy lifting of this layout was making the pattern background and getting all the inking on there. So I've added 2 of those banners from the birthday celebration dies, and I'm adding large and small banners on that just as a filler up in the corner. Now you could definitely do some pattern paper, but I feel like with all the patterns in the background, solid seems to be toning that down a little bit more. A lot of times that's why I put an extra cardstock back, 1/4 inch back to pattern paper strips, because it does help tone those down and balance out the colors. And also using a solid black background grounds those colors as well. So now I've added that tractor to the lower part of the 2 larger photos of Hattie Elaine, and I discovered that there are numbers in birthday celebration, and I thought, why not say 4H? So I grabbed out the Party Alpha dies and I made a large H. I made that out of pattern, leftover pattern, and then also out of white, and I'm going to ink the edges of that with the pecan pie, and then I'm going to tear the H down a little bit and make it into a 2-tone H just to add a little bit of interest so it isn't so blah up there in the corner. So I'm going to add the H onto one of those banners that I made in True and Light Misty Moonlight with the stitched banner die out of birthday celebrations. So now I have that little play with 4H. So it was my way of personalizing it in a small way. So not everybody is going to need their layout to say 4H, but by adding that up in the corner, I made it my own and I made it fit for Hattie Elaine. So now with documenting the day, I actually had so much fun during celebration with documenting the day with it was a free scrapbooking series and guide that I did on my YouTube channel as a celebration for a certain number of subscribers, I believe. And I used, it was a C collection. And of course the name is escaping me and I never thought that I would forget it, but I'll link it in the description. And I actually used this same stamp to create all 5 titles in the series. So I did 5 scrapbook pages. Actually, I think I did 6, where I did a play on day. So it was like documenting the day, one fine day, day in the sun. Oh, what a day. What a wonderful day. A perfect day. So I was able to get all of those scrapbooking titles out of one stamp set. And like I said, this was from Celebration. So if there are any left, you will see it on Last Chance on August 5th. And it's a good one. I've really used it a lot. So what I've done is I stamped Day in Misty Moonlight on white, and I'm leaving a tiny little white edge. I think if it's Misty Moonlight all the way and I fussy cut that out really tightly, it's not going to show up on the layout. So a lot of times if you leave a tiny edge, it makes it look like it's die cut instead of fussy cut, and it also gives it a little bit of an outline to make it stand out against pattern papers or darker papers. I'm also going to stamp in Misty Moonlight the subtitle or the pre-title, and I'm going to say, what a wonderful. I'm going to do a couple of them because I don't like how the first one turned out, and then I'm simply going to cut that out and snip both sides and make a dovetailed banner on both sides. So a notched banner or a dovetailed banner by snipping about a 1/2 inch in the center and then snipping in from both of the sides. Another thing that I do a lot, if you watch me and you watch my channel, is I do a lot of dovetailing to add extra banners. Now there are punches out there that will notch things into banners. There are also dies that will create banners just like what we created in the upper left corner. So you can do your notching with a punch, you can do your notching with a die, or you can simply do your notching by hand. So again, coming in and dirtying that up with pecan pie, and of course because we have Bonnie the sheep in there, and I think Avery Jean's sheep is in with Bonnie in one of the photos. We'll add some hay bales up to the top. At least I think that's where I want them, and then I change my mind and decide it looks a little funny having that long pre-title up there. So I think that I'll actually put it over on the left. It's going to make it seem a little heavier, but I think I'll flip the wheels of the tractor over the top and then overlay day across the bottom. So it feels more like a subtitle title type situation. And then I don't really like the hay bales on the left photo. I think I'm going to move them over to the right. And in the Tractor & Co., there's also some corn. Now, it has dies that cut out the corn stalks, and it has dies that cut out the corn leaves, but you can actually stamp the corn on white and then cut the whole row of corn out with your scissor and fussy cut those out. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And there's also a cute little chicken in Tractor & Co. So I used, I believe it was Mossy Meadow for the green and on the corn, and then the crushed curry for the corn, and then Cajun craze for the chicken, just to keep it so that it coordinates with the layout. And it's going to seem a little simple, and I probably could add, some circles or some little tags or some little bits down around the bottom, but I'm actually really just wanting to enjoy the patchwork background. I love all of the papers in this theme, so I'm going to add some of our neutral matte dots, and I'm going to only add white. I'm happy with the amount of photos given the flip flaps, but that it still allows me to see the strip background. I'm getting happy. I'm so happy to be able to complete layout 3 of 8 in the Strips and Scraps Scrap Your Stash series using Weekend Adventure. And I'm happy to have a grandchild 3 out of 8, Hattie Elaine's layout complete. I hope you like the layout and the simplicity of it and the stash busting. I hope you'll hit like, subscribe, and the notifications bell bell so that you don't miss layout number 4 of 8 in the series that will be coming up soon. So hit subscribe if you want to catch that 4th video, and be sure to shoot me a comment and share. Come back soon right here on Snips by Kelly for more tips, tricks, and paper crafting fun. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.